BoJack Horseman has been widely regarded as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, animated TV shows of all time by many critics. But why? What's all the hype about? I mean, from the outside, it looks like another run-of-the-mill modern adult animated cartoons that we keep getting. The ones that are more concerned with over-the-top swearing and R-rated content than making a good, or even funny, show. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, it's the complete opposite. BoJack Horseman is an incredible show because of how witty the writer's comedy is and how well the show deals with important social issues and mental illness and its effects. A lot of people, including Netflix themselves, describe BoJack as a comedy, but that isn't inherently true. Yes, the show is funny, but it's not the focus of the show. It would be best described as a dramedy. Half drama, half comedy. Despite comedy not being the main focus of the show, the writers have extremely clever writing, hilarious running gags, and somehow come up with endless animal puns based on real-world companies and locations. One of the best jokes in the series is in Season 4, Episode 3. A mysterious woman named Hollyhock Mannheim Guerrero Robinson Silverslug Sung Fonzarelli McQuack shows up at BoJack's house and claims to be his daughter, and Todd is tasked with finding out whether she's the real daughter of BoJack. When introducing her to BoJack, Todd says,
"BoJack, this is your maid?" Way to build up the suspense.
A great running joke throughout the series is the name of a major conglomerate that seems to own everything. It's first introduced as AOL, Time Warner, PepsiCo, Viacom, Halliburton, Skynet, Toyota, Trader Joe's. But by the end of the series, is known as Philip Morris, Disney, Fox, AT&T, AOL, Time Warner, PepsiCo, Viacom, Halliburton, Skynet, Toyota, Trader Joe's. The best part of this joke is that whenever any character refers to it, they always say it perfectly, despite how long it is. Another type of joke that the writers excel at is background gags, the humorous details that are hidden in the backgrounds of the show. A prime example of how hilarious these can be happens in Season 2, Episode 6. Throughout the entire show, almost every single store is a different animal pun named parody of a real store. However, when BoJack goes to their version of
Lowe's,
the sign reads Lowe's, but like an animal version. It's a small detail, but if you notice it, then you'd think it's hilarious. There's a lot more examples of BoJack Horseman being a hilarious show, but again, that's not the only reason the show is good. Another reason the show is so highly praised is because it's the perfect parody of Hollywood and its issues. For example, the Season 2 episode Hippopopulous After Dark, which is about sexual abuse. During a book tour, Diane makes an offhand remark about how a famous TV star, Hank Hippopopulous, is a sexual predator, but his fans do not believe her despite there being proof. She receives tons of death threats and other terrible mail and messages. Her husband, Mr. Peanut Butter, rather than supporting her, tells her to drop it since it is making his show look bad, as do a lot of her other friends. In the end, a news anchor asks Hank if the accusations are true. Hank simply responds with, "No, I did not." And the news anchor responds with, "That's good enough for me." And the news moves on from the story. This episode came out before the Me Too movement, showing that the BoJack team is progressive and knew it was an issue before the mainstream news thought it was. Another way the show shows its progressiveness is with the Season 3 episode Brat Brat Pew Pew. In this episode, Diane decides to get an abortion. As she's discussing this with someone, she accidentally tweets, "I'm getting an abortion" on Sextina Aquafina's Twitter, as she's the social media manager for her and accidentally just wrote down what she was saying. This starts an escapade where Aquafina must pretend to have an abortion live and writes a song about abortion called Brat Brat Pew Pew. As you can imagine, this does not go over well, and protesters stand outside Planned Parenthood with picket signs that say things like, "Life begins in the egg," "Would you abort a car?" and "What if Jesus was aborted?" Clearly poking fun at those who oppose abortions for inane reasons. Another quote from that episode comes from a discussion happening on TV. They introduced the discussion like this.
Drop, drop, pew, pew. A daring battle cry from the self-appointed new voice of choice. But has the concept of women having choices gone too far? We've assembled this diverse panel of white men in bow ties to talk about abortion. Gentlemen?
Very clearly making fun of the fact that men are trying to control what women can or cannot choose to do. BoJack Horseman has plenty of astute observations like this. There is one thing that BoJack Horseman excels in most, however, and that is their portrayal of mental illness. Since show creator Raphael bob-waksberg believes that the best comedy comes from sadness, he knew the show could not be lighthearted like other adult animated shows airing. BoJack struggles with depression, and we get to see exactly how that affects him many times in the show, both through his actions and what he says. BoJack is an alcoholic and frequently abuses other substances. A quote from BoJack that really stands out comes from Season 3, Episode 5, as he's trying to comfort someone who ran away from their marriage. He says,
"Hey, Tanisha?"
BoJack? I was thinking about what you said.
Yeah, stop doing that. Nobody should be thinking about the things that I say.
I love Karen, but does she complete me?
Tanisha, nobody completes anybody. If you're lucky enough to find someone you can halfway tolerate, you sink your nails in and you don't let go, no matter what.
So what? I should just settle?
Yes, settle, because otherwise you're just going to get older and harder and more alone. And you're going to do everything you can to fill that hole with friends and your career and meaningless sex, but the hole doesn't get filled. And one day, you're going to look around and you're going to realize that everybody loves you. but nobody likes you. And that is the loneliest feeling in the world.
That feeling of loneliness, feeling like you are at the top of the world yet also the loneliest person, is reflected in BoJack's house. He lives in a pseudo-mansion overlooking Hollywood, or in this universe, Hollywood. This was inspired by Bob Waksberg's own experiences living in Hollywood. When he first moved there, he lived with someone who had a home like BoJack's. As he looked over the balcony down to the city below, he felt the same feeling BoJack feels, simultaneously on top of the world, yet completely lonely. A great moment that shows BoJack's toxicity comes from Season 1, Episode 4, Zoe's and Zelda's. In this episode, Todd is writing a rock opera that is turning out to be amazing. He pitches it to a major theater and they say they like it, but it needs one more song. BoJack and Todd go to the gas station to buy energy drinks so that Todd can stay up and write, but Todd notices a new installment in a game series he used to be addicted to in the bargain bin after character actress Margot Martindale points it out. He buys it, but says he will not play it until after the song is written, as they need it for tomorrow. BoJack goes to bed, and when he does, Todd relapses and begins playing the game. He ends up staying up all night playing the game, missing the deadline. As it turns out, BoJack intentionally placed the game there, hired character actress Margot Martindale to point it out, and paid the gas station employee to let him buy it, even though it is not something you can buy in the store. He did this so that Todd would not become so successful that he moves out, leaving BoJack lonelier than ever before. The portrayal of depression in BoJack Horseman has been described as the best representation of depression on TV, and it's hard to disagree. The writers definitely know what they're doing when it comes to writing mental illness. BoJack Horseman is an incredible show. It's hilarious, has witty commentary on the media industry, and represents depression in a real and honest way. Its running gags, one-liners, and background gags are all hysterical. Its depictions of problems such as sexual abuse and abortion are progressive, and it shows mental illness in a real, accurate way and dispels harmful myths and stereotypes. BoJack Horseman is a healthy show for people with depression to watch. It's dark at some moments, but it has moments of light that show that there's hope for people with depression. While some days it may be hard, as BoJack Horseman teaches us in the finale to its second season,
it gets easier.
Huh?
Every day it gets a little easier.
Yeah?
But you gotta do it every day. That's the hard part. But it does get easier.
Okay.